Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev ki jai. Nitilapa Vishnu Vishnupada Ashitara Shatashma Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitilapa Vishnu Vishnupada Ashitara Shatashma Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitilapa Vishnu Vishnupada Ashitara Shatashma Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitilapa Vishnu Vishnupada Ashitara Shatashma Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitilapa Vishnu Mahabhagavat Srila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitilapa Vishnu Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitilapa Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Nugauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadash Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachai Shri Hairas Thakur ki jai. Prem se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandal Vaja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishya Bhadata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Amana Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. One second. Dandavat pranams Indira Mataji. Oh, I didn't do Srila Jiva Goswami Pada ki jai. Tatiya Shubha Tiruva Titi ki jai. Okay. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravrajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhavo Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Binidustam Sarva Bhuta Hridaya Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritam Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Shrinvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Redantasto Yabhadrani Vedanoti Suritsatam Nashta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshaya Kshiptashtakamaaditarangamaade Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right. Straight up to verse 9, right? And just a little recap of what we read yesterday. Tools, rotate left. All right. So proud Hiranyakṣa neglected Varuna's teachings, and learning from Narad Muni the whereabouts of the Lord, he quickly entered the Garbhodaka ocean, the Rasatala. Hiranyakṣa criticized Lord Varaha. There, Hiranyakṣa saw the all-powerful Lord bearing the earth on his tusks, robbing his splendor. The demon laughed. "O amphibious beast! This earth is entrusted to us, the inhabitants of the lower regions. You cannot take it and not be hurt by me. O lowest of the Devatas, you have taken the form of a boar." But this is actually an indirect glorification, if you play with the Sanskrit, and actually saying you've been given the earth by Brahma. Do not give up the earth. You will obtain our kingdoms along with the earth by being merciful to me, O supreme among the Devatas, who have appeared as a boar for your devotees. So yeah, all of these are acharyas give actually the indirect, with Sanskrit, it's lots of times the words have double meanings. So then again, Hiranyakṣa said, "Rascal, nourished by your enemy, you have killed demons by remaining invisible. Oh fool, your power is only mystic. Today I will enliven my kinsmen by killing." Oops. 1 second. There. But actually, that was an indirect glorification. He was saying, "Have the Devatas taken shelter of you, who kills the Asuras by your mercy, in order to award me liberation? By killing the demons, give them a spiritual destination. You remain victorious, though you are invisible." And then he says, "When you will die by my mace, all the demigods and sages will also die, like trees without roots." But then indirectly he was actually saying, when the demon would be deprived of his mace by the Lord, not only the neophyte devotees, but also the ancient sagacious devotees of the Lord would be very much satisfied. And then here's a little chart saying it's the meaning of this, the direct meaning of the Sanskrit word, but then also another meaning of the Sanskrit word. So he criticized the Lord, calling him Vana-gochara, which means resident of the forest or water. Like an animal, you don't live in a house, you just live in the forest or in the water. But actually, Vana-gochara can mean Narayan who lies on the water. And then Mriga called him an animal. But Mriga also means one who is sought after by great sages. And then he called him agya, fool. But agya means that there is no knowledge which is unknown to you. There's no gya that is not like unknown. Agya. Then Suradhama, lowest of the demigods. But Suradhama can also mean Lord of all the demigods. Therefore, he is the best of all the demigods or God. Mamekshata, in my presence. But that also means in spite of my presence, you are able to take away the earth. Nasvasti yasyasi, you cannot go and not be hurt by me. But then also that means, unless you kindly take this earth from our custody, there can be no good fortune for us. Abhavaya, for killing. And indirectly it means killing the process of continued birth and death. And shucha, grief, means material miseries are extinguished by the Lord's yoga maya. So although the Lord was pained by the shaft-like abusive words of the demon, by seeing that the earth placed on the ends of his tusks was frightened, he bore the pain and rose out of the water. Verse 7, the demon with golden hair and fearful tusks gave chase to the Lord and said, there is nothing reproachable for the shameless creatures. But actually that was an indirect glorification, saying, can there be criticism of those who are merciful and modest? Or the demon also criticized himself. Is there censure for me, a demon dedicated to my own pleasure, devoid of shame? So the Lord placed the earth on the surface of the water and gave her the ability to float on the water. Brahma extolled the Lord, and the demigods rained flowers on him. So that's where we are now. Antargrameshu mukhato vamantyo vahnimulpanam srigalolukatankarai pranetur ashivam shiva. In the interior of the villages, she-jackals yelled portentously, vomiting strong fire. Oops, am I at the wrong chapter? I am at the wrong chapter. Good thing I caught myself just now and didn't read too much more. That was pretty bad one time when I read a bunch of verses. Okay, that was close. Okay, there. Puranushaktam tapaniyo pakalpam mahagadam kanchana chitradangsham marmanyabhikshnam pratudantam duruktai prachandamanyo prahasangschtadbhashe. The demon, who had a wealth of ornaments, bangles, and beautiful golden armor on his body, chased the Lord from behind with a great mace. The Lord tolerated his piercing ill words, but in order to reply to him, he expressed his terrible anger. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord could have chased the demon immediately while the demon was deriding the Lord with ill words. But the Lord tolerated him to please the demigods and to show that they should not be afraid of the demons while discharging their duties. Therefore, his toleration was displayed mainly to drive away the fears of the demigods, who should know that the Lord is always present to protect them. The demon's derision of the Lord was just like the barking of dogs. The Lord did not care about it, since he was doing his own work in delivering the earth from the midst of the water. Materialistic demons always possess large amounts of gold in various shapes, and they think that a large amount of gold, physical strength, and popularity can save them from the wrath of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Satyam vayam bhuvana gochara mriga yushmarvidan mrigaye grama singhan namritu pashay pratimuktasya vira Vikatanam tava granantya bhadra. The personality of Godhead he said, indeed, we are creatures of the jungle, and we are searching after hunting dogs like you. One who is freed from the entanglement of death has no fear from the loose talk in which you are indulging, for you are bound up by the laws of death. Purport. Demons and atheistic persons can go on insulting the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they forget that they are subjected to the laws of birth and death. They think that simply by decrying the existence of the Supreme Lord or defying his stringent laws of nature, one can be freed from the clutches of birth and death. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that simply by understanding the transcendental nature of God, one can go back home, back to Godhead. But the demons and atheistic persons do not try to understand the nature of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they remain in the entanglement of birth and death. Etevayam nyasa hararasokasam gatahriyo gadayadravitaste tishta mahetapi kantanchirajo steyam kvayamo balinotpadya vairam. Certainly, we have stolen the charge of the inhabitants of Rasatal and have lost all shame. Although bitten by your powerful mace, I shall stay here in the water for some time, because having created enmity with a powerful enemy, I now have no place to go. Purport. The demon should have known that God cannot be driven out of any place, for he is all-pervading. Demons think of their possessions as their property, but actually everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can take anything at any time he likes. Tampadarattanam kila yutapadipo ghata svano swataya ashvanuha sangstapya chasman pramrijashru swakanam yasvam pratikyam nati pipatyasabhya. You are supposed to be the commander of many foot soldiers, and now you may take prompt steps to overthrow us. Give up all your foolish talk and wipe out the cares of your kith and kin by slaying us. One may be proud, yet he does not deserve a seat in an assembly if he fails to fulfill his promised word. Purport. A demon may be a great soldier and commander of a large number of infantry, but in the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is powerless and is destined to die. The Lord, therefore, challenged the demon not to go away, but to fulfill his promised word to kill him. Maitreya Uvacha Sodikshipto Bhagavata Pralabdhascha Rusha Bhrisham Ajaharol Bhanam Krodam Kridyamano Hiradiva. Sri Maitreya said, the demon, being thus challenged by the personality of Godhead, became angry and agitated, and he trembled in anger like a challenged cobra. Purport. A cobra is very fierce before ordinary persons, but before an enchanter who can play with him, he is a plaything. Similarly, a demon may be very powerful in his own domain, but before the Lord he is insignificant. The demon Ravan was a fierce figure before the demigods, but when he was before Lord Ramachandra, he trembled and prayed to his deity Lord Shiva, but to no avail. Srejana marshita swasan manyo prachalitendriya asadya tarasadaito gadaya nyahanadharim. Hissing indignantly, all his senses shaken by wrath, the demon quickly sprang up upon the Lord and dealt him a blow with his powerful mace. Bhagavangstu gada vegam visrishtam ripunorasi avanchayat tiraschino yogaruda ivantakam. The Lord, however, by moving slightly aside, dodged the violent mace blow aimed at his breast by the enemy, just as an accomplished yogi would elude death. Purport. The example is given herein that the perfect yogi can overcome a death blow, although it is offered by the laws of nature. It is useless for a demon to beat the transcendental body of the Lord with a powerful mace, for no one can surpass his prowess. Those who are advanced transcendentalists are freed from the laws of nature, and even a death blow cannot act on them. Superficially, it may be seen that a yogi is attacked by a death blow, but by the grace of the Lord, he can overcome many such acts for the service of the Lord. As the Lord exists by his own independent prowess, by the grace of the Lord, the devotees also exist for his service. One second, I need to drink some water. Punargadam samadaya brahmayantam abhikshnasa abhyatavar dhari kruda samrambhar tashtadachadam. The personality of Godhead now exhibited his anger and rushed to meet the demon, who bit his lip in rage, took up his mace again, and began to repeatedly brandish it about. Tatashchagadayarate dakshinasyam pruvi prabhu ajagne satutang somya gadaya kovidohanat. Then with his mace, the Lord struck the enemy on the right of his brow. But since the demon was expert in fighting, O gentle Vidura, he protected himself by a maneuver of his own mace. Evam gadabhyam gurvibhyam haryaksho harirevacha jigishaya susamrabdhav anyonyam abhijagnatu. In this way, the demon Hiranyakṣa, it says Hiranyakṣa. In this way, the demon Hiranyakṣa and the Lord, the personality of Godhead, struck each other with their huge maces, each enraged and seeking his own victory. Oh, that wasn't a mistake. Hiranyakṣa is another name for Hiranyakṣa, the demon. Tayo spridhos tigma gadahatangayo kshatasrava grana vivreda manvyo vichitra margangs charator jigishaya vyabhar ilayam iva shushminor mrita. There was a keen rivalry between the two combatants. Both had sustained injuries on their bodies from the blows of each other's pointed maces, and each grew more and more enraged at the smell of blood on his person. In their eagerness to win, they performed maneuvers of various kinds, and their contest looked like an encounter between two forceful bulls for the sake of a cow. Purport. Here the earth planet is called Ila. This earth was formerly known as Ila Vrittavarsha, and when Maharaj Parikshit ruled the earth, it was called Bharatavarsha. Actually, Bharatvarsha is the same name for the entire planet, but gradually Bharatvarsha has come to mean India. As India has recently been divided into Pakistan and Hindustan, similarly, the earth was formerly called Ila Vrittavarsha, but gradually, as time passed, it was divided by national boundaries. Daityasya yagya vayavasyamaya grihita varaha tanor mahatmana kauravyamahyam dvishator vimardanam didrikshuragad rishibir vrita swarat. O descendant of Kuru, Brahma, the most independent demigod of the universe, accompanied by his followers, came to see the terrible fight for the sake of the world between the demon and the personality of Godhead, who appeared in the form of a boar. Purport. The fight between the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the demon is compared to a fight between bulls for the sake of a cow. The earth planet is also called Go, or cow. As bulls fight between themselves to ascertain who will have the union with a cow, there is always a constant fight between the demons and the Supreme Lord or his representative for supremacy over the earth. Here the Lord is significantly described as Yajna Vayava. One should not consider the Lord to have the body of an ordinary boar. He can assume any form, and he possesses all such forms eternally. It is from him that all other forms have emanated. This boar form is not to be considered the form of an ordinary hog. His body is actually full of yajna, or worshipful offerings. Yajna, sacrifices, are offered to Vishnu. Yajna means the body of Vishnu. His body is not material, therefore he should not be taken to be an ordinary boar. Brahma is described in this verse as Svarat. Actually, full independence is exclusive to the Lord himself, but as every living entity has a minute quantity of independence. Each and every one of the living entities within this universe has this minute independence. But Brahma, being the chief of all living entities, has a greater potential of independence than any other. He is the representative of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and has been assigned to preside over universal affairs. All other demigods work for him. Therefore, he is described here as Svarat. He is always accompanied by great sages and transcendentalists, all who came to see the bullfight between the demon and the Lord. Brahma, the most independent demigod, accompanied by his followers, came to see the terrible fight. Okay. Asana shandiram apeta sadvasam krita pratikaram harya vikramam pilaksha daitam bhagavang sahasranir jagadnarayanam adisukaram. After arriving at the place, Brahma, the leader of thousands of sages and transcendentalists, saw the demon who had attained such unprecedented power that no one could fight with him. Brahma then addressed Narayan, who was assuming the form of a boar for the first time. Brahma vacha eshate deva devanam angri mulam upeyusham vipranam sorabheinam bhutanam apyanaghasam agaskrid bhayakrid dushkrid asmadradha varosura anveshan ati apratirato lokanatati kantaka. Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, this demon has proved to be a constant pinprick to the demigods, the Brahmins, the cows, and innocent persons who are spotless and always dependent upon worshipping your lotus feet. He has become a source of fear by unnecessarily harassing them. Since he has attained a boon from me, he has become a demon, always searching for a proper combatant, wandering all over the universe for this infamous purpose." Purport. There are two classes of living entities. One is called Sura, or the demigods, and the other is called Asura, or the demons. Demons are generally fond of worshipping the demigods, and there are evidences that by such worship they get extensive power for their sense gratification. This later proves to be a cause of trouble to the Brahmins, demigods, and other innocent living entities. Demons habitually find fault with the demigods, Brahmins, and innocent, to whom they are a constant source of fear. The way of the demon is to take power from the demigods and then tease the demigods themselves. There is an instance of a great devotee of Lord Shiva who obtained a boon from Lord Shiva that the head of whomever he touched with his hand would come off its trunk. As soon as the boon was offered to him, the demon wanted to touch the very head of Lord Shiva. That is their way. The devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead do not, however, ask for any favor for sense gratification. Even if they are offered liberation, they refuse it. They are happy simply engaging in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Maina maya vinam driptam Nirankusham asattamam akrida Varaha-deva yatashi visham uttitam. Lord Brahma continued, "My dear Lord, there is no need to play with this serpentine demon, who is always very skilled in conjuring tricks and is arrogant, self-sufficient, and most wicked." Purport: No one is unhappy when a serpent is killed. It is a practice among village boys to catch a serpent by the tail and play with it for some time and then kill it. Similarly, the Lord could have killed the demon at once, but he played with him in the same way as a child plays with a snake before killing it. Brahma requested, however, that since the demon was more wicked and undesirable than a serpent, there was no need to play with him. It was his wish that he be killed at once, without delay. Nayavaresha vardeta swam velam prapya daruna swam deva mayamastaya tavajahya gamachuta. Brahma continued, "My dear Lord, you are infallible. Please kill this sinful demon before the demoniac hour arrives and he presents another formidable approach favorable to him. You can kill him by your internal potency without doubt." Esha Goratama Sandhya Lokachambatkari Prabho Upasarpati Sarvatmam Suranam Jayamavaha. My Lord, the darkest evening, which covers the world, is fast approaching. Since you are the soul of all souls, kindly kill him and win victory for the demigods. Adunaisho Bijinama Yoga Mohurtiko Hyagat Shivaya Nastvam Suhridam Ashunistaradustaram. The auspicious period known as Abhijit, which is most opportune for victory, commenced at midday and has all but passed. Therefore, in the interests of your friends, please dispose of this formidable foe quickly. Ishtatvam vihitam mrityum ayamasadita swayam vikramyaynam mrite hatva lokanadehi sharmani. This demon, luckily for us, has come of his own accord to you, his death ordained by you. Therefore, exhibiting your ways, kill him in the duel and establish the worlds in peace. Therefore, exhibiting your ways, kill him in the duel and establish the worlds in peace. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 3rd canto, 18th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled The Battle Between Lord Boar and the Demon Hiranyakṣa. So tomorrow we will read chapter 19, The Killing of the Demon Hiranyakṣa. But now we will read about Srila Jiva Gosvami, whose disappearance day it is today. My internet seemed to have disappeared. I wonder how long that's been for. Okay, I hate when this happens. Speed test. The internet seems to be fast though. That's so strange. Why is it like that? I'm gonna reload this page. Oh. Okay. Now it seems to be better now that I reloaded this page. Let me just share my screen. I have no idea how much you guys missed, because I just was focusing on the screen. I wasn't looking at this. Anyhow, sorry about that. So now we're reading about Srila Jiva Goswami's Disappearance Day, which is a class given on January 16th, 2002 in the evening. Today is a very auspicious day. It is the disappearance day of Srila Jiva Goswami. We don't observe the disappearance days of Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Ram, or any other incarnation of Bhagavan, but we observe the disappearance days of his associates. By such observance, we learn many things about their worshipful Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Sriman Mahaprabhu, and Lord Nityananda Prabhu. We can understand how they practice bhakti yoga and how they receive the service of Krishna and Mahaprabhu. We can learn from their lives examples how they accepted the process of sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, and anartha nivritti, and how they gradually developed nishta, ruchi, asakti, and rati. This is more important for us. Although they are nitya-siddha devotees, they sometimes act as conditioned souls in the beginning, so we can learn how a conditioned soul can become a pure devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna himself, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, who has taken the beauty and intrinsic mood of Srimati Radhika, came to this world. But it was Srila Rupa Goswami who established in this world his innermost heart's feelings. If Srila Rupa Goswami had not come, perhaps we would not have known his identity. Srila Jiva Goswami served Srila Rupa Goswami, and the credit for all the publishing of Srila Rupa Goswami's literatures belongs to him. By publishing Rupa Goswami's literatures, he established his innermost desire. At that time, it was very difficult to publish books because the authors had to write all their books with their own pens, as there was no printing presses. Jiva Goswami wrote down in his own handwriting every copy of every book of Srila Rupa Goswami. He was the topmost learned person at that time, and he preserved the legacy of Srila Rupa Goswami. Because he was always with him, he was able to write many commentaries in pursuance of Rupanuga Vaishnavism. If it were not for him, all of Srila Rupa Goswami's books would have been lost. He also preached, especially to Sri Shyamananda Prabhu, Sri Narottam Das Thakur, and Sri Srinivas Acharya. Try to practice serving the cause of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission as he has done. So-called gurus hanker to make many disciples. They spend so much money, make so many agents, and tell them, if you bring 5 disciples, I will pay you so much. This is going on nowadays, but Srila Jiva Goswami and the 6 Goswamis did not practice this. How many disciples did Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, Srila Sanatan Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, and Srila Raghunath Bhatt have? Srila Jiva Goswami did not have any formal disciples at all, but the whole world is his disciple. Sri Shyamananda Prabhu was initiated by another guru, Sri Hriday Chaitanya. Srila Narottam Das Thakur was initiated by Srila Lokanath Das Goswami, and Srila Srinivas Acharya was initiated by Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami. But they all came under the shelter of Srila Jiva Goswami. He then explained to them the Vedas, Upanishads, and all other Shastras, and he also thoroughly explained to them all tattvas established philosophical truths. Oh, nothing was missed, Indira? Okay, that's interesting. On my computer, it said that I had 0 connection, but that must have just been a mistake, like an error on my computer. Okay, so those 3, Narottam, Srinivas, and Shyamananda, they wanted to be initiated by him, but he refused. He told them, there are so many elevated Vaishnavas more qualified than I. Please, you go to Lokanath Goswami, and you should go to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. They had not intended to go to them. They wanted him to be their guru, yet they followed his instructions. Srila Narottam Das Thakur went to Srila Lokanath Prabhu, and Srinivasacharya Prabhu went to Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Lokanath Goswami refused to give Narottam Das Thakur initiation, although the Thakur had waited for many years. At night, Narottam Das Thakur cleaned the place where Lokanath Goswami had passed stool, and finally, seeing his sincerity of purpose, Lokanath Goswami was bound to give him initiation. Similarly, Gopal Bhatta Goswami never wanted to accept any disciples. By the request of Srila Jiva Goswami, he accepted only one disciple, Srinivasacharya. However, those two disciples, along with Shyamananda Prabhu, went to Bengal and collected thousands and thousands of followers. Srila Gaurkishoras Babaji also never wanted to accept any disciples. Only by the special request of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur did he initiate his son, Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. He saw in his own heart that if he did not initiate Srila Saraswati Thakur, he would die. Srila Babaji Maharaj was therefore bound to give him initiation, but he gave no initiation to anyone else. His disciple Srila Saraswati Thakur performed a miracle. He made disciples in all of Bengal, all over India, and after that all over the world. Thus, who is more merciful, the guru or the disciple? We see that the disciples are more merciful than their gurus. This is because they got to go out to everyone to invite them to experience the mercy of their guru. Once, when Srila Lokanath Goswami and his disciple Srila Narottam Das Thakur were both engaged in bhajan, a thirsty person came to them desiring water. He went to Lokanath Goswami, who was chanting and absorbed, oblivious to his presence. Then, when he went to Narottam Das Thakur, that baby sadhu procured some water and gave it to him. Lokanath Goswami understood this and later told him, "You are not qualified. You should go at once to your village. I don't want a disciple like you who has no faith in Sri Krishna Bhagavan's name." Krishna's name is Krishna himself. He has manifested all his power, beauty, and opulence in his name. That name is more powerful than he himself, but you have no faith in this truth. Srila Maharaj explained on another day that in real bhajan, the devotee is personally serving Srimati Radha and Sri Krishna while chanting. Srila Lokanath Das Goswami told Srila Narottam Das Thakur that he was not qualified because he had interrupted his service to Radhika and Krishna and went to serve an ordinary man. Had Srila Narottam Das Thakur continued his bhajan, Krishna would have been pleased and the man would also have been pleased. By Lord Krishna's arrangement, he would have gotten water from another source. Srila Narottam Das Thakur was so faithful that he followed his guru's instructions, and he also initiated thousands and thousands of disciples in the course of his preaching on his guru's behalf. I think that Srila Narottam Das Thakur is so much more merciful than his Gurudev. Although Lokanath Goswami is a Manjari and Narottam Das Thakur is also a Manjari, it appears that Narottam Das Thakur is more merciful. He had mercy for all, as shown by his extensive preaching. In another way, however, we see that Lokanath Goswami is extremely merciful because he parted with his only disciple, who served him so intimately, just so the people of Bengal could benefit. There are many teachings to contemplate in this regard. If Srila Jiva Goswami had not written Shad Sandarbha, if he had not written Sri Gopal Champu, if he had not revealed his commentaries on Sri Ujjvala Nilamani, Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and so many other books, we would have not been able to know the mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami. We therefore offer our obeisances today unto the lotus feet of Srila Jiva Goswami. We pray that we may serve our Gurudev as he served Srila Rupa Goswami. He manifested both Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Radha Krishna. It is very rare for anyone to be like him. All right, so still have a few minutes. Let's see, is there anything short on purebhakti.com? What's this class? Let's see how long it is. Okay, it's mostly an endnote. Should I read this? It's not way too long. I'm just going to quickly read this. If anybody has to go, feel free to go. No problem. Okay, so this is a class given by my Srila Gurudeva, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 3.17.9 in Perth, Australia, 1998. Srila Narayan Goswami Maharaj. All jivas, spirit souls, have a special relationship with Sri Krishna. Some are related with him in the mood of friendship. Others have a relationship in the mood that Krishna is my son, and that is called parental mood, Vatsalya. Moreover, some have the mood that Krishna is my beloved. All jivas have their own original eternal relationship with Krishna. In this material world, that eternal relationship is covered. Shri Guru can see the soul's real form in nature. He knows the speciality of that person's relationship with Krishna, and he bestows this special relationship by mantra. Did Srila Jiva Goswami do the right thing when he defeated the arguments of Sri Vallabhacharya and defended his Gurudev? Devotees. He was right. Srila Narayan Goswami Maharaj. But what about his Gurudev, Srila Rupa Goswami? Was he right or wrong? Because Srila Rupa Goswami banished Srila Jiva Goswami when he found out that he I think you know this story, right? I think so, right? So was Srila Rupa Goswami right for banishing Srila Jiva Goswami, or was he wrong? Devotees, he was right. Srila Narayan Goswami Maharaj. How is that? If Srila Jiva Goswami did the right thing, then Srila Rupa Goswami must be wrong. How can Srila Rupa Goswami be right? Devotee. Because he is Guru. He has the qualification that he can correct. And then Gurudev says, Srila Narayan Goswami Maharaj, this is not a good argument. Gurudev is correcting that person because Srila Gurudeva is Guru and he has the qualification. Sorry. Okay, devotee. Who's trying to call me? Devotee. Srila Rupa Goswami is Guru. He is Tarnarapi Sunichena, Taror api Sahishnuna, Amanina Manedena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. One can chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking himself to be lower than a straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So Srila Rupa Goswami is that. Srila Rupa Goswami wants to respect everyone without desiring respect for himself. But Srila Jiva Goswami could not tolerate that his Gurudev was criticized. Srila Narayan Goswami Maharaj. This is not the answer. This logic is not correct. Devotee. Srila Rupa Goswami sent Jiva Goswami away because he wanted to increase Jiva Goswami's love by making him feel separation. Srila Narayan Goswami Maharaj. No. The answer is that Srila Rupa Goswami wanted to respect Sri Vallabhacharya, but his disciple, Jiva Goswami, disrespected him. This was wrong. Srila Rupa Goswami considered, Sri Vallabhacharya may think, Rupa Goswami is not openly disrespecting me, but he is disrespecting me through his disciple. Therefore, some blame might come to Rupa Goswami. By punishing his disciple, Jiva Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami was giving respect to Sri Vallabhacharya. Actually, Srila Rupa Goswami was right, and Srila Jiva Goswami was also right. A disciple should not tolerate anything against his Gurudev. Thus, both the Guru and disciple were right. Srila Rupa Goswami wanted to respect Sri Vallabhacharya, and he did. After Srila Rupa Goswami told him to leave, where did Srila Jiva Goswami go? He went to Nanda Ghat. Correcting a devotee who had been called on to speak in the class, Srila Gurudev said, Srila Jiva Goswami's designation is not that he is the son of Anupam. His designation is that he is the disciple of Srila Rupa Goswami. Don't say this. If you are explaining his life in great detail and you have a lot of time, then you can tell this. Otherwise not. This is his glory, his glorification, and nothing else. He is the disciple of Srila Rupa Goswami. If we say Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is the son of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this is not Srila Prabhupada's glorification. His real glory is that he is the disciple of Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Not that he is his son, but that he is his disciple. Actually, he is the disciple of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But in disciplic line, we say that he is a disciple of Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was his Bhagavat Paraguru, Shravan Guru, and Bhajan Guru. And Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj was his Mantra Guru, or Diksha Guru. Sometimes the Bhagavat Parampara Guru, the Bhajan Guru, is superior to the Diksha Guru. If the Diksha Guru is also the Bhajan Guru, then he is also exalted. Srila Jiva Goswami is a brilliant star in our disciplic line. He is a brilliant and learned acharya, the greatest scholar in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was on his way to Vrindavan, he met with Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami in Ramkeli, near Kamai Natsal. Jiva Goswami was only a baby at that time. Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami brought that baby and placed him at the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu, who then touched him with his lotus feet. Playing the role of an ordinary sadhak, Srila Jiva Goswami said in Navadip that he did not remember this so vividly. He said he only had a very vague remembrance of that time when he touched the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Rupa Goswami later made arrangements for Srila Jiva Goswami's education. He gave to Jiva Goswami's family so that they could help him with his studies. Thus, even in boyhood, Jiva Goswami became a great scholar in Bengali, Sanskrit, Urdu, Arabic, and Farsi. He was an unparalleled scholar of Sanskrit, especially of Sanskrit grammar. When he was about 20 years old, Srila Jiva Goswami left his home and went to Navadip. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had already left this world. Srimati Sachimaya, Srimati Vishnupriya, and Sri Nityananda Prabhu were present in Navadip at that time, and they were all weeping for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Srila Jiva Goswami arrived there, Srila Nityananda Prabhu put his feet on the head of Srila Jiva Goswami and inspired in his heart all tattva, knowledge and realization. Jiva then began to cry for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Nityananda Prabhu said, "Come with me, I will take you on parikrama of the 16 kroshas, the 32 square miles of Sri Navadip Mandal." He then took Jiva to the 9 islands of Navadip, Antardvip, Samantadvip, Kodrumadvip, Madhyadvip, Koladvip, Ritudvip, Janudvip, Modadrumadvip, and Rudadvip. He especially showed him Sri Yogapit, the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, situated on the island called Mayapur. Srila Jiva Goswami told Nityananda Prabhu, "I want to stay here at your lotus feet." But Nityananda Prabhu said, "Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has told Srila Rupa Goswami, I'm giving you and your whole family to Vrindavan. So you should go to Vrindavan to be with Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami. On the way, you should stop in Varanasi, and there you should study all the Vedanta Darshan, the Vedanta Sutra, the philosophy of the Vedanta. You should learn the explanations of Sankar, Madhva, Vishnusami, Nimbaditya, and Ramanujacharya, and then you should go to Vrindavan. Thus, Srila Jiva Goswami went to Kashi, Varanasi, where he met the disciples of Sri Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya named Madhusudan Vidya Pachaspati. This disciple had studied Vedanta under the guidance of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He had learned everything that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had received from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he now taught that to Srila Jiva Goswami. After Srila Jiva Goswami became expert in all these topics, he went to Vrindavan and took shelter at the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami. Srila Sanatana Goswami told Srila Rupa Goswami, "You should initiate him." So Srila Rupa Goswami initiated that boy. Srila Rupa Goswami then taught Srila Jiva Goswami about everything he himself had written: Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Shri Ujjvala Nilamani, Shri Vidagdha Madhav, Shri Lalit Madhav, and so on. Srila Rupa Goswami's books are Rasa Shastra, scriptures delineating the topics regarding Sri Krishna and his beloved associates. And thus Srila Jiva Goswami became a learned scholar in that as well. When Jiva Goswami fully mastered all topics taught to him by his guru, Srila Rupa Goswami engaged him in proofreading his books and checking his writings for grammatical mistakes. One day, Sri Vallabhacharya came to see Sri Rupa Goswami. They were well acquainted because when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had met with Rupa and Anupam in Ahailagram, their native place near Prayag, Vallabhacharya was present. Very good discourses took place at that time. Sri Vallabhacharya now inquired, "Are you writing any book?" Srila Rupa Goswami answered, "Oh yes, I am writing." Sri Vallabhacharya then asked, "Which book are you writing?" "Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu," Srila Rupa Goswami replied. "Oh, that is a very good book. May I see it?" Sri Vallabhacharya requested. Srila Rupa Goswami agreed, and Sri Vallabhacharya took the book. Reading it, he saw this verse: Bhukti mukti spriha yavat pisachihre divartate tavar bhakti sukasyatra katam abhyudayo bhavet. As long as the witches of bhukti and mukti linger in the heart, how can pure bhakti arise? Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Purva 2.16. Vallabhacharya read Rupa Goswami's explanation that mukti, liberation, is not like a witch. It is the desire to achieve mukti that is like a witch. Vallabhacharya did not understand this fact, so Jiva, although a youth of only 16 years, explained it to him. Vallabhacharya was impressed. He went back to Srila Rupa Goswami and said, "Oh, your disciple is such a learned boy." Srila Rupa Goswami could understand. Jiva had defended him, and he told him, "You should have been tolerant. Sri Vallabhacharya is a Brahman. He is learned and he is also a Vaishnava, and he is visiting me. He is my guest. You cannot tolerate that he suggests some corrections?" In this way, the behavior of Srila Rupa Goswami is correct. On the other hand, it would have not been right for Srila Jiva Goswami to tolerate the fact that Sri Vallabhacharya was attempting to correct his Gurudev. He was right to defend his Gurudev. Srila Rupa Goswami is not an ordinary Vaishnava. He is the associate of Shri Radha and Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. He cannot make any mistake. Srila Jiva Goswami argued some points and defeated Sri Vallabhacharya, and this was the right thing to do. If anyone thinks he can correct the writing or teachings of our Gurudev, we must also act like this. But when we are in the position of Srila Rupa Goswami, we should honor the other person and say, "You can correct me, no harm." This is the behavior of a Vaishnava. Rupa Goswami was not angry at Jiva Goswami from his heart. He only showed some anger externally, and thus told him to leave. When Sanatana Goswami heard what had happened, he became very worried for Jiva Goswami. When he arrived at that place, Nandagat, all the villagers approached him and said, "Oh, a new Baba has come here. He is very young, but he is always weeping and crying out in love for Krishna. Oh Krishna, Radhe, Radhe." He weeps day and night. He is more qualified than you. Srila Sanatana Goswami thought, "Oh, he must be Jiva." In this way, he found Jiva Goswami and saw that he was about to die. Jiva Goswami had given up eating and drinking. He did not take baths, and he was continually weeping for his Gurudev. Srila Sanatana Goswami took him back to Vrindavan and hid him somewhere. Then he went to Srila Jiva Goswami and asked, "What is our duty to all Jivas?" Srila Rupa Goswami replied, "We should be very kind." Srila Sanatana Goswami then said, "Well, is this Jiva not a Jiva? Why are you so unkind to this Jiva?" Rupa Goswami began to weep. Sanatana Goswami called Jiva Goswami and put him in Srila Rupa Goswami's lap. Rupa Goswami, seeing that Jiva Goswami had so many diseases and was about to die, embraced him and nourished him. He gave Jiva Goswami medicine, and after some days, Jiva Goswami became cured. After that, Jiva Goswami always remained in the service of Srila Rupa Goswami. When Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami left this world, Jiva Goswami became the prominent Acharya of the Vishva Vaishnava Raj Sabha, the World Vaishnava Association. This is the real Krishna consciousness movement, which was established by Lord Brahma himself. Shri Narad Muni, Srila Vyasadeva, and Srila Jiva Gosvami are acharyas of the real Krishna consciousness movement, and later Srila Jiva Gosvami became its prominent acharya. I saw a book today written by Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. Therein, Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj made a point that I think no one in ISKCON after Param Pujyapad Srila Swami Maharaj had ever written before. He clearly wrote that Srila Prabhupada Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj did not establish the Krishna consciousness movement. Who is the establisher? It is Lord Brahma. Moreover, Brahma is also not the establisher. He is also a disciple. Shri Krishna is the root of all gurus. He is Jagat Guru, the guru of the entire universe, as is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Krishna consciousness movement is coming from Krishna, and it is therefore called Krishna consciousness. Param Pujyapad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj is not the establisher of Krishna consciousness. He is one of the prominent acharyas in this line. We should realize all these facts. After Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami disappeared, Jiva Goswami spread the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. He wrote many books, including the 6 Sandarbhas and Sarva Samvadini. Jiva Goswami's own commentary on the first 4 of his 6 Sandarbhas, namely Tattva, Bhagavat, Paramatma, and Krishna Sandarbha, because he wanted to protect the world from incorrect philosophical conceptions and conclusions. Try to understand all these topics, and try to follow Srila Jiva Goswami's philosophy. His teachings are not different from those of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. He is in their line. He has given an explanation as Swakiyavad, Radha and Krishna as a married couple. He did this for the benefit of his unqualified disciples and followers, those who are not qualified for Raghunuga Bhakti or Rupanuga Bhakti. He did this to bring them gradually to this line of Parakiya, Radha and Krishna as transcendental paramos. I will explain more tomorrow. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Srila Jiva Goswami Pada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Jiva Goswami Prabhu, Jiva Goswami, Jiva Goswami Prabhu, Jiva Goswami. Jai Saparshara Jaya Gora Hari, Saparshara Jaya Gora Hari, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Giridhari, Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupar Ashtatarashata Shishimachila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shri Gurudeva Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupar Ashtatarashata Shishimachila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupar Ashtatarashata Shishimachila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashtatarashata Shishmachila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupar Ashtatarashata Shishmachila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Srila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnava Sarva Bhoma Srila Jagannath Das Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Nagakoriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopal Patadash Raghunath Sharada Sai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाश्री गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय. सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जय. श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय. श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय. श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय. श्री भक्ति देवी की जय. श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जय. श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय. श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. Srila Jiva Gosvami Pada ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Tirabhav Titi ki jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Shri Varaha-deva ki jai. Shri Hari Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sandubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dandavat pranams. Oh, and Dandavat pranams to Seshwari Mataji. It's been a long time. Alright. And Dandavat pranams Indira Mataji. And everybody else, thank you so much. Dandavat pranams. See you all tomorrow for the fight between... when Lord Varaha defeats Hiranyakṣa. Alright, Haribol.